in 2004, I was out of the Marine Corps at this point, and then went and did my first tour as an embedded reporter in Iraq, and came back and noticed immediately getting off the plane in California and just feeling very different. And I remember just going to a bar and looking over. I went to this. My best friend took me to this bar right near the airport. We went to this club, and it was, intimate scene. I remember looking out over the people, and there was life. I could tell everyone was drinking and talking and socializing, and just as they had before, and it was as if nothing had changed. And I remember, and there was no particular reason to feel angry or upset, but it really struck me that I had changed. And I remember oddly not being suddenly very bored and uninterested with what was going on inside the bar, and I left, stepped out, and I think I went to go use the ATM at a local liquor store. And one interesting thing about San Diego is that all of the liquor stores there are run by Chaldean Iraqis. And so I went in there, and the owner of the store was from Baghdad. And so I ended up talking with him. So I was just off the plane, not really fitting in, and what do? I walk right next door, and there's this Iraqi, and so we start talking about Baghdad, and he was looking for work, and he's like, let's go over. So it was this very strange feeling of apartness that I felt from my earliest days returning in 2004. And I was also angry about the war, about the war, how it had been prosecuted. I had been seen the tail end of the first Battle of Fallujah, and I'd seen Marines from my old regiment that were explaining to me what they saw as really gross mismanagement, poor leadership, and a completely irrational policy-making decision process that they had lost men as a result of this. And then a few weeks later, Blue Grave happened in country, and no WMD. And then I was in Iraq, returned in July of 2004, and then just a few months later, in November, George W. Bush was reelected. And so for me, that was a very difficult process to understand, that Americans would, in light of everything that had happened, all of the lies that had been exposed in 2003, 2004, it was very difficult for me to accept that people would in the face of knowledge of that information, turn and reelect the person that had put us in there in the first place. And as I began researching, I began to develop symptoms of my own. There was a movie theater in 2009. Fast forwarding briefly, I was in a movie theater in an action film, and there was an IED explosion that closely resembled one that I was in, and it was shot from the point of view of where I would be in the Humvee. And so that, and the cinematic experience was very overwhelming for me. And I actually sort of blacked out, and when I regained full consciousness, I was in the hallway of the Cineplex and snuck back into the theater. No one else was having this difficulty. And I asked my girlfriend at the time, like, what happened? She's like, well, there was an explosion in the movie and you ran out. So I began to sense on a personal level that not all was right upstairs, and that I did not have full control of my memories. And one Marine I interviewed for the book told me that it was having PTSD was like having memories gone wild. They sort of have they take on their own life. So that was one of the impetus for me to begin examining PTSD, not just on a personal level, but also as a historical entity.